Hey, so as promised, I'm back to talk about Ansible, and I've been working a lot this week to learn more about this and understand better, to be able to bring for you also some knowledge about this. So let's take a look on this scenario where we have here Bob. Bob is our sysprog, and he has to install some product on our mainframe environment, on our LPAR. So let's suppose he was looking for the instructions for this product. He just found out that he has some tasks that he needs to accomplish. So he's a smart guy, so he started doing some backups, then checking the system the requirements, and then he goes and start deploying the files, running some jobs, and then starting the product. So if it's just one LPAR, that's not a big issue. But let's imagine he has a lot of LPARs, so hundreds of them. So that became a bit more complicated, and it's easier to get and make a mistake and get an error there. So here comes Ansible. So the idea is to have something simple that's easy for human to read and start creating this automation, so you don't need any special coding skills, and you can just get the tasks you want in the order that you want ready to be executed. It's powerful, so there are numerous modules available in the communities, and we are going to see that there are the modules ready for ZOS. So it's easy to orchestrate all deployments, all automation inside of ZOS with that. And it's also agentless. We don't have this Ansible, for example, installed on the LPAR. We have our host where our playbooks, our tasks are coded and ready to be executed, and that will connect through the system using secure connect and using SSH. So what we need to do here. So we we had first the tasks that we were executing manually, and we can write them all in one file called what we call as playbooks, and that's YML file is very simple to read that. And we are going to include all the tasks that were supposed to be executed there, and Ansible engine will take that as an input of the actions that it needs to perform. So on Ansible engine, we have some features that we can use to make that possible, to make all this automation. So for example, we were talking about multiple systems, so we can have these systems inside of our inventory. So that has the informations to connect to that LPAR. It will tell some parameters, some variables about these hosts. It's possible to use inside of Ansible API calls. Also, there are plugins available to use that. And what we are going to see here are the modules for ZOS. Not all of them, we are just making some introduction here, but we are going to see the modules that are available to work and handle these activities inside of ZOS. So once we code that, the playbook, we have the inventory, the modules that we are using, that will use an SSH connection for these systems, and then it starts executing that. So let's go for the hands-on and getting started installing Ansible. The first thing I'm gonna do here when I enter my Linux, I'm going to look for the repository where I can get Ansible installed. So I will first try to enable a repository name like we had before on had 7. So I'll just try with 8 here and trying to get the extra repos here. We see that that's not the right one. So but that will give me a tip about how I list, because I don't remember the comments by head. So that will bring this the right command. And now we can take a look on what repositories are available and get the right one to get Ansible here. So when it comes, we see here the Ansible 2.9 for Red Hat 8 and S390. So remember, we are running on Linux on Z here. So let me take this repo ID so I can subscribe for that and use the package manager to install it. So subscription manager repos, enable, and then the repo name. And now we can use DNF to install Ansible. It starts to get the Ansible for us, the packages, and we confirm that we are installing. So these are the dependencies that is coming together. So basically around Python. And this is something that I've noticed here. So, and that's why Python is needed on RZOS too. All the scripts and all the interactions, it's doing this asset connection, and then it's using Python on the other side. So when it gets installed, we have some files that are in the folder /etc/ansible, and here are some configurations that we can do inside of ansible.config. Our host is, so here on the host is typically is where we include our inventory. So just for information, we are not going to use them here, but this is one of the places where we can configure and also include our hosts. So we have Ansible installed. So let's bring now the collection that let us interact with the ZOS. And when we install Ansible, there are a lot of commands that become available for us. One of them is the Ansible Galaxy. So this one will look into the community, into this repository, and see what modules are available there. So we pass the collection, and it will bring these modules developed by the community to our system. So IBM has developed these modules to interact with ZOS, to interact with ZOSMF and IMS. So this module is available through the Ansible Galaxy install command. There are other commands for you to check, for example, documentation. So Ansible docs. So with that you can check what's available on the modules you are using. So we have installed the modules, and remember I said we were not using that Ansible config and hosts from the etc Ansible because we are going to create here on the folder that we are going to use Ansible, from where we are going to use and where we are going to create our playbooks. So the first one we are going to create here is just this Ansible config, and I'm just passing some information about forks and to avoid use validate the key fingerprint. So that's just when you start a SSH connection, you get that message with the IDs for the host. So just to don't ask me about that when we are running the commands in the playbooks. So I'm also starting the configuration for my host, and here are the params we are going to use. So we have a group called system, and into this group we can set more than one host. I'm just setting one host here, but you can, through this indentation, have more of more hosts defined and pass the variables for that. So I will update here what's the address from this host, so where we use to connect through the SSH. I'm using the port 22, so I don't need to change. I will include here my user ID, and you can also include here your password. To don't ask when you are running that. I will not write obvious my password here, but so this Ansible SSH pipelining is to handle the encoding when we are doing this connection, and Zoho home and Python path are the home director for the open automation utilities on our LPAR and the path for our Python. So we have Ansible installed and configured for us. So well, the next step we are doing now is creating our hello world. We are doing our ping to our system. We'll pass the inventory, so which system we are doing that. We need to point the path for Python where it is, and then the task to do the ping. So let's see how that works. So first thing, I'm starting a new file called ping.yml, and on that we are going to write our first playbook. So here I'm passing that hosts that are inside of this system, the variable for Python, and this is the path for my libs. So I'm passing here the Python path to the lib, the full user lib, and then creating a task with the ping. So that's it. So very simple, just passing the basic about where Python is on our system, the task to do the ping. And you have noted that I have this between brackets with Python path, so this is a variable, and when we use variables inside of these playbooks, we need to use, if that's in the beginning, this code closing from the beginning to the end of this text, this string. So let's try that now and see if our ping will work. And to call the command, to call the playbook, we are going to use Ansible playbook, and we pass what's the playbook we were calling, ping.yml, and with the flag I, the file that has the configuration from our system. So, and perfect, we see that the ping, the task was completed. Okay, so that was our first playbook. So now let's explore a bit more about the playbooks and the ZOS core module, and let's do that submitting a job. So we are going to create here a playbook to submit a job, and on that we are going to assume that we have inside of the user that's connecting to the system a library called the user id.jcl, and we are submitting a basic JCL with the IFBR14, so just a job for us to test. And when we do the submission, we want to take from these results, what was the job ID and what was the completion code. There are numerous other options available for us to take from these results, but just for us to work with these variables, let's work with these two. Let's create our playbook to submit a job. And what we have here, we are taking all the hosts for our file. So note that in the previous we had the systems. Here we have all. So for example, you may have on your inventory multiple groups of systems, and you can take all of them. We are setting the Python interpreter. What is the path for that? So some variables here for temp location. The remote user view, so this is my user ID. We are setting the ZO Open Utilities home, so the path that was previously configured on our inventory. So the path and lib path, Python path. So all these paths are needed to this function that we are going to use now to submit a job. After I have prepared other examples using sending commands and so on. So we are from this more complex samples, we are all setting all these environment variables. And here we have the collection that we are using, the ZOS core, and then the task that we are going to use here. So we are passing the name of this task, so we are submitting this job. We are using the module ZOS job submit. Here is the source where our JCL is. So it's a data set, and we want this to wait for the completion until 60 seconds and bring that result back. When we bring this back, usually we have an array, and I'm taking the first element, in this case it just is the only one, and setting a variable here, job results. So here is just a task for the bug, and we are accessing some properties of this variable. So just writing this phrase with the job, taking the job ID from these results, and completed with this return code. So let's save that. And let's run our playbook. Here we have the result of the execution. So it's submitting the job, and we see here the results. Another cool thing that may be useful, you can add to this command the flags VV and V and till 4Vs, for example, to add more details for this execution. So for example, when we run this with these flags, it starts bringing all the details of these executions for us, and here we can see more about what is accessible for us through this job execution. So we see that we have all the output, any other, we have other data also about this job. So what was the owner, for example. So you can work with this to get more detailed results. I think that gave already a taste about what we can do with Ansible, and that opens our mind for all the levels of automations, uh, interacting with the system, bringing tasks down, copying procs, starting that back. So a lot of possibilities for us installing products, arranging deployments, and so on. So if you want to try a bit more about this, I've prepared a Docker container. So here's the command you can use to get this container and start editing the samples that we just used here. There is also a sample there already with configured for you to issue commands to the LPAR. And I will just, to finish this video, show you how you can install this container. If you have, you're gonna need to have Docker previously installed on your machine, and how you can then use VS Code to connect into this container and see, edit the files and try it from there. Now on my VS Code, I will open the terminal and I will run that command, docker run, and pass the build operator slash demo Ansible the latest. That's the first time that will not find it on your machine, so it will download and then start that for you. To get started with that and get editing this, what is inside of this container, I suggest you to have this extension. So you can come to the extensions tab and look for container. So this remote container, it's an extension from Microsoft that allows you to connect with VS Code to your container. And with this icon, I will refresh here, and we can find here what is the running containers that we have on our machines to connect. And we can see here that this is the running container. We click that, and that opens another VS Code inside of this. So it starts the dev container, so installing the server for us, and will allow us to edit whatever is inside of this container. So here we can see that there is already the Ansible config file that we've created. There is the ping, the submit job, also the send command, that is the one we are using here, just to wrap up the video. Your host is where you are going to update to point to your LPAR. So I just updating this to my own. Don't forget to update your user ID, your password, your the paths for the open automation utilities and path. So let's see the send command. It has some comments here, and it's issuing the a command and bringing the result back. So when I press control, when I open my terminal here, I can just write the Ansible playbook send command that's already on the folder where all this info are, and I will increase the size here the terminal just to be easier for us to see that. And we see here that it has identified the system with that USS command and then bring back the results from our display. And that's it. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to let me any suggestions on the comments for this video, anything that you would like to see in the future. Don't forget to follow me on LinkedIn and Twitter. I'm always sharing something there about the things I'm working about, this new technologies that are happening around Z. And thanks, and see you on next video.